Quick TLDR for those who missed my previous posts. Almost 2 years ago my father announced he was leaving the family for another woman. Initially he actually had left for a few weeks, then he returned, changed the locks while Mom was at work and left her a cruel letter calling her manipulative and demeaning her in all sorts of ways. The court eventually reinstalled Mom's right to live in the family home, after she had to live in my attic for a whole 5 weeks. And that's when he got more cruel and more insane every week, beating her and screaming at her. Eventually Mom was forced out permanently, and that's when he refocused his hatred on me. One week, while checking my closet, I missed a whole bunch of books and video games having gone missing. When I checked the security footage, I found him breaking into my home on multiple occasions, slowly stealing valuables that got increasingly larger. In some of the clips his girlfriend was standing right behind him, encouraging him. State police eventually recovered some of the stolen items, but far from all. 4 days after I reported him to the cops, one of his friends assaulted me outside the local supermarket and pushed me down a ravine. Eventually he made his brother spam me his insane ramblings on WhatsApp for several weeks and only stopped after I reported him to police. Cops back then advised me to not block him, but instead keep a close watch and collect actionable threats. End of TLDR. Fast forward to a few months later now. My father is still actively fighting any attempt to finalize the divorce. The original divorce hearing in January, he showed up without a lawyer and made the judge reconvene. The hearing lasted a whole 10 minutes and was mainly him whining that they can't get divorced because he doesn't like losing money. Earlier this week, still without a lawyer, he dropped off a whole bunch of deranged letters at the court, all of which accuse and slander Mom and ask for the judge to delay divorce proceedings indefinitely, in light of his impending criminal cases. For whatever reason, this man has convinced himself that, despite all the video evidence and all the witness testimony, he'll not only get off scot-free but that he can then use this against Mom by claiming slander, NVM, that most of these criminal cases don't even concern her but me. He broke into my home. After all, the judge eventually struck down his demands, but foolishly noted that he'd be able to steer clear of any penalties if he managed to present a qualified sick note. Needless to say, he immediately headed to a GP already suspected of foul play who treats regular patients like dirt while handing out 4-week doctor's letters to his favorites like candy. Said GP will now, sadly, be in a huge swath of trouble himself. Alas, that's just what happens when you trust my father. He's the personification of scorched earth, and that's why he's very quickly running out of support. As much as he wants to blame Mom for it, rather than his own abhorrent behavior. If you stick up for my father, he'll either backstab you directly or involve you in uncouth practices that'll eventually backfire and hurt you, but never him. He always makes sure of that. One could very much say he has derangement syndrome when it comes to my mother. He blames her for everything, including his own cheating, him losing friends. If anyone could claim credit for that, it'd be me. Since I'm the one exposing his mean-spiritedness. But then it's mostly his own behavior doing that, regardless of my actions. Him burning money on his girlfriend, his girlfriend's ex, and his girlfriend's son and daughter-in-law, his criminal activity, etc. He continues blaming her for my loathing of him, which has very little to do with her. Again, he burglarized me, sicked somebody with a long history of violence on me, and there's also years of abuse that will be forever on my mind. Aside of the obvious, I loathe him for weaseling his way out of everything, having no sense of responsibility whatsoever and showcasing less than zero masculinity. He's a failure as a father as much as he is a failure as a man, and it's always sad when a son has no real father figure to turn to. For what it's worth, Mom doesn't want to see him in prison, unlike many others, including his own girlfriend and her ex, who already look forward to living in the house while he's in prison. The whole thing reminds me of that Addams Family movie in which Uncle Fester falls for a black widow. Only that Uncle Fester was much smarter and exhibited humanity. Who do want that? Even I'd only want him imprisoned as a much-needed wake-up call, because it appears to me he considers everybody a sucker and thinks he can continue getting away with everything. As far as I'm concerned, I've found a new job since my last post. I'm now working in government. Cool.